So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to and I welcome you all for coming to the third day of the litigation series as was shared by Ankit Kanoria last day that the ideal planning for this litigation series happened when we got feedback from a lot of members like advocates and chartered accountants, CMAs and company secretaries that capital में litigation के ऊपर कोई बड़ा series नहीं होता है. So that's why we have planned this and we are lucky to say that the kind of people who are practicing in indirect tax, काफी लोगों ने इसमें join किया है. So today we have a very important topic because GST is already a 6-year-old baby. और जब बच्चा थोड़ा बड़ा हो जाता है तो रोना बंद कर देता है और लेकिन शरारत करना शुरू करता है. So like that, and the GST also now so-called notices are coming. But the main thing is that people like we have senior advocates who have already worked under VAT and service tax. They are aware that how it was happening into the VAT service tax exercise. But GST का जो so-called notice का entire procedure that has been changed. क्यों? Because अगर आप वो tax or interest within 30 days payment नहीं करते हो, then it is 10% or 10,000, whichever is higher. So we have recently got a matter wherein the amount not paid was 500 rupees. So 500 rupees पे कितना होना चाहिए penalty? 10% is 50 rupees. Penalty is 10,000 rupees. So handling so-called notice under GST, as my younger professional brother Abhishek Agarwal will be sharing, and also my friend Vinay Shraff will be sharing, advocate Vinay Shraff will be sharing. So it's a very important thing, and everything is taken care of in minute detail. Because if you don't ask for a hearing, you don't get a hearing, what are the consequences? All those things will be handled. So without wasting any further time, I would like to introduce Abhishek Agarwal today. So he is the founder of Abhishek Shankar Agarwal and Associates. He is a graduate in law, a forensic auditor, apart from being a chartered accountant and also a DISA. He has also done certification in forensic audit and GST and also concurrent audit. So he was special invited to the GST and Data Tax Committee of IPA for 3 important years, 1920, 2021, 2022. This period when I come from identity committee because of the COVID. He was also inducted to the special invited to GST and IT committee of the ICA for 2021-22. He is currently the co-chairman of the GST committee of DTPA and special invited to the executive committee for 2023. So I would also like to share that this entire course has been designed and he is one of the background entire course. So he is also there and he started his practice a decade back as partner taxation in one of the reputed firms in the country. But today he is handling litigation in many states and he is also an avid author. He has written books like he has contributed to identity committee books, which is handbook on practical ethics on ITC, handbook on refund, exempted supplies, PA background certificate, which is now one of the core books that every practitioner in India is following, handbook on annual returns, and also technical guide on case. With this, I would request Abhishek to start the deliberations of the day. Before that, so shall we remind me that there is an important comment to be done. So may I request Somebody Judge to kindly come to the speaker. PA Somebody Judge, enthusiastic practitioner from. Thank you, Abhishek. So I am over to you, Abhishek.
Online audience, virtual audience, I'm audible. Second side. I'm audible. Virtual participants, please do confirm. Not audible.
Yes, आ गया.
Yes, आ गया. तुमको आ रहा है? Because we have a small platform. आ गया.
Oh, the mic में.
Mic में Thank you for the kind words. We might be, the name might be there, a co-chairman or a member speaker. But every iceberg has an important portion beneath the. I am saying or share it proudly that for the entire this workshop, the below portion is known as the Arudai himself. Arudai is always supporting us from backside and putting and guiding all us in front. So friends, the topic here today is show cause notice under GST. What will I do is I will share some issues and Aruda strictly guided me to stay only and only limited to the provisions so that we can have use of Vinay, right? So I'll start. Two basic rules, even applying to the virtual participants. Stop me wherever you can, ask me as much question as you can, because that will solve the purpose, right? Okay. So we will discuss this is the due process which is very much required in the entire GST law. Any proceeding you choose, due process has to be followed, right? I'm going to give 4-5 important concepts which I personally notice, and then we can jump down to the provisions which requires proper attention, right? So following of due process, and if you see, it is a very old saying in the 1936, Privy Council has pronounced this, that where a power is given to do a certain thing in a certain way, the thing must be done in that way or not at all. If the law says, the law defines. Welcome, sir. If the law says that a particular thing has to be done in a certain way, that has to be done in that particular fashion, or it is not required to be done, or it cannot be done rather at any way. So following due process is very important, irrespective of whatsoever proceeding we talk about in GST. To my limited understanding, there is no proceeding described in the law which do not have any due process, right? So talking about the due process, let's say DRC 01 is to be issued along with the show cause notice. Friends, please be mindful. Show cause notice is a different document which is to be issued along with DRC 01. Right? So DRC 01 and show cause notice are two different documents. It is not alternative. 1, 2. Let's say a show cause has been issued without a summary of the show cause notice in DRC 01, and subsequently it has been objected. Now, the officer issue a summary of the show cause notice in DRC 01. Will that be valid? To my understanding, it will still be not valid because a show cause is to be issued along with DRC 01 and it is to be read accordingly. So, friends, in section 1, rule 142, subsection 1. In rule 142, subrule 1, there are 11 sections where it is specifically mentioned that along with the show cause notice, DRC 01 is to be issued, right? So, whenever we receive a notice under 73, 74, we have to check whether summary is also there or not. Please be mindful. 12th section is mentioned in rule 100, subrule 2. The 12th section is very important, and that is section 63. Friends, section 63 talks about assessment of unregistered person. Please be very much mindful. This indeed is a important thing for all of us, since it is end of the special drive, fake registration drive. So-called drive is the department has started, and it is going to end on 15th or 16th of July, right? The 2 months drive is getting ended, and we may, we may get notices for unregistered person, for persons who are not registered. So we have to be mindful that the show cause notice under 63 is valid or not, right? Since the topic is show cause notice, I have majorly focused on 73 and 74 provisions. But if the time permits, 63 can be discussed, 76 can be discussed, and all the sections have their own set of important things to be discussed. So specifically to my mind is a very important section currently, and for this again, ASMP 40 is a show cause notice which is to be issued along with DRC 01, right? Okay. Now, as a basic understanding, a show cause notice, there are many ingredients which is important to understand. But technically, there should be 4 major ingredients in a notice, which is to be considered, and on the basis of that, we should object the notice, right? The notice issued must contain allegations. Number 1 is allegations. Number 2, evidences supporting the allegations. 3, all information necessary to inform the taxable person, right? 4, the appropriate cause of action, right? A show cause notice must give you allegation, must communicate the evidences supporting the allegation. Third is all the informations which they have related to the allegation, and 4th is the cause of action. Now, cause of action, I would like to deliberate more on this. What exactly it is? There might be one provision which imposes certain obligations, another provision which takes cognizance. One provision may authorize the action. So, one is taking the obligation, second is taking the cognizance, and the third provision would be who is authorized the action. Please see, refer the last paragraph. You will able to understand the illustration. Let's say an erroneous claim of refund in respect of zero-interest supply, which is found not to be export of service, is a violation. Violation of what? I have taken a credit, I have claimed a refund. I have taken a credit, I have claimed a refund. This is violation of what section? Which section? Section 16. Right? The violation of section 16. But the cause of action is from section 54. 54 is refunds. Under which section it will be demanded? Demand for repayment will come from 73 or 74. So my point is, the show cause notice must be evaluated in respect of all the 4 parameters, and there that is allegations, evidence, information, and the cause of action. Right? Having said that, I will now jump to the provisions of 73 and 74. Right? Friends, 6 years gone. You can close your eyes and say a difference between 73 versus 74 is fraud, willful misstatement, suppression of facts. Now let's read with me in a certain way. So for this presentation specifically, we have read 50 times and we are able to collect something new. I would like to share. Vanessa is there, he can always guide us, where are we going on. So 73 says, other than reason of fraud, willful mistake, or suppression of facts. The moment we come down to 74, we have to slow down. We have to see there's a difference in two both the or. It is by reason of fraud, comma, or. any willful misstatement or suppression. Now, why there is not a comma? Now, why there is not a comma is very important. So, comma or comma and is nothing but Oxford comma. It's a new terminology for me when I read it first time, right? So, rule of last antecedent, it is taken by principle of statutory interpretations by Justice G.P. Singh, and there's a book. So, from there, what I understood is comma OR is very important to understand is the reason of fraud is a different zone and is not to be read from evasion of tax. What I want to build a point is by reason of fraud, full stop, or willful misstatement or suppression of tax to evade tax. Evasion of tax is very important, but evasion of tax is only and only connected to willful misstatement or suppression of tax. Friends, am I able to communicate what exactly I want to make a point? Right? Evasion of tax is a very important discussion itself. What is fraud has been discussed by the courts at various judgments. Right? So we have mentors, speakers to guide us on that also. But this is something which is to be read. And I'm sure it has been drafted for a purpose. That fraud is a fraud, irrespective it is for evasion of tax or not. But when we talk about willful misstatement or suppression of tax, it is specifically to evasion of tax. Again, for the limited time given to me, I'm not discussing what is fraud. If we take good number of time,
You will discuss, I will take less time.
no, sir, I want to hear you. I want to hear you, sir. We all would love to hear you, sir. So, evasion of tax is having again.
You are doing a wonderful discussion, so I am here to hear you.
So kind of you. So evasion of tax has four rock solid components rather. That non-payment of tax happened, knowledge about the existence of liability, use of device or means of to conceal or blend, leaving detecting impossible. The fourth and most important is there has been gains derived by misadventure, interrupted in inquiry. So we cannot loosely say that I have evaded the tax. Then this is really very important to understand now. I will take a break for further slides and I will discuss few important practical things. Let's say sir is facing 65 audit. Sir is facing 65 audit. Department said, hey, hi, you have not paid RCM on the director remuneration. Sir, I am not going to discuss right now that whether it is in the capacity of a director or not. I am not going to discuss whether I am liable to pay RCM or not. My question is, can the demand of RCM be done in 73 or 74? Because is there a fraud? Is there any willful misstatement? Or is there suppression of facts to evade tax? I don't know. So 73 with a 74. We are currently residing at Kolkata. I know, I'm sure many of us are practicing across India. Kolkata Central Department has a motion to issue notices in 74. Right? So please be mindful what to challenge where. Friends, 76 is also to be taken care of. Let's say medicines sold at MRP by hospitals. The MRP has a component of a tax. Now 76 says anything you collect in my name, you have to pay. So the tax component which is there in the MRP of a medicine can have 76 notice to be issued. So my point which I want to bring on record is, if a notice comes, I'm sure we have to check various other things, but we also have to check whether a notice in that particular situation is valid either in 63 or in 73 or in 74 or in 76. This is really important to evaluate, right? Friends, I applied for a refund. Officer said, Abhishek, we'll talk about the refund later on. First, what I can see that you have taken the crate of a motor vehicle. I'm not interested to know whether that vehicle is 30 seater or 35 seater. To me, in my office, I can see motor vehicle. I want to say that this credit is block credit. My question to learned officer was, sir, will you like to issue me a show cause notice? If yes, under which section? I'm not debating on the merits. And I want to understand the legal ground that under which section you will raise a show cause to me. Sir, last month, my client had a search 67. Again, it's an important discussion. Altogether, we are not discussing that. 67-2, let's say. 67-2, he came for search and seizure. There was something which was secreted, which was relevant for the evasion of tax. Now, you all know how the proceedings practically goes in a lower level. Subsequently, the officer got convinced, and I don't know for what good reason, he issued a show cause notice under 73. To my understanding, if a 67 proceedings is initiated, no notice can be issued other than 74. But he subsequently landed and issued 73 notice. The show cause notice itself is important to understand that what it is coming to us. We just cannot be enthusiastic or excited that okay, it is a 2A versus 3B show cause notice. My team member has done the reconciliation 5 years earlier. Paisa to paisa milawa, we can give a thorough reply. Please do not jump to give a reply because as per section 160 subsection 2, it's a safeguard given to a taxpayer to challenge to object. It's 160 subsection 2 to challenge to object any proceeding, any notice if we want to do. Choosing not to object it means that you accept the proceedings, right? Okay. Next, okay, I will discuss this in a different fashion where I can move forward. This is important. Section 73(3) and 74(3) says that if for a particular financial year, if a point is raised, let's say I raised a point that you have not paid your RCM on a reverse charge or RCM on a director's remuneration for 18-19 financial year. Now I want to tax you for subsequent financial year on the same topic. So I can merely give you a statement and I'm not required to give you a notice. Now for 74(3) it is said, if you go to 74(4), for first year you can give 74 notice. For subsequent years, it will be tantamount to 73. Friend, this is important because next section only we will be reading, next subsection we will be reading the impact of interest and penalty. Uda was mentioning, right? The impact of interest and penalty 73 result 74 is very, very different, right? So, okay. If we come to 7, if we come to 73.5, we say that there is a in 73.5 where there is no fraud, the interest will be applicable as per section 15, right? If we pay before the show cause notice, DRC 01A aa gaya. Practical scenario, you receive a ASM 10, you reply, you get a DRC 01A. To my understanding, DRC 01A is putting allegation from department side. The SSA should only reply, we accept or we reject the allegation. We should not jump into explaining the copy pasting which will be used for the show cause notice. It's merely a DRC 01 intimation, a pre-consultation before show cause notice. If you accept, please pay the amount. If you don't accept, please reject it on the face. Please write that you reject the amount, right? So 73.5 says that even before the issuance of the show cause notice, if you pay the amount, it will be merely interest and no penalty will be liable. For 74 matter, that is for matter of fraud. Even if you pay before the show cause notice, interest is there, but a penalty is there of 15%. A penalty is there of 15%. Friends, day before yesterday, I was in Haridwar. My clients are getting helicopter transportation service. They are taking passengers from Utkashi to Kedarnath. There has been a debate that they have charging 5%, they're leaving 5% GST and they're supposed to charge 18% GST. That's a different ball game, but they had a visit from Department of 67. Now, they said what they were convincing to my clients are, see, we have to issue a notice under 74. Now, if you accept and pay today before we issue any notice, there will be a savior of penalty. Otherwise, there will be huge penalty. Sir, even if we pay before so-called notice, there is a 15% penalty because since you rightly said, as you gave in 67, you have to issue notice under 74 and not 73. So, with all due respect, officers try to play a bargain game with us. They do a bargaining with us. Actually, they are giving no benefit to us. It is written in the law. 15% even before the show cause notice. Right? Next. Okay, we can skip this. 73(8). When the show cause is issued and you pay the amount of interest within 30 days of the show cause notice, then there will be no penalty. But in 74 matters, the penalty increased from 15% to 25%. So, if a show cause is issued and your client want a consultancy, you have to educate them that there is only 30-day window. There is a 30-day window, both in 73, 74. 73 no penalty, 74 penalty went to 25%. Next. Yes. Yes.
मैंने GST ऊपर एक फाइल किया था, बिल्कुल सॉरी दिल्ली से पहले वाला। For any financial year, I have filed the 3P late.
Actually, do you mind if I complete this 3 more sections? Yeah. So, 73(9) says that, right, as rightly guided by Ruda, 10% or 10,000, whichever is higher. So, 73 says that 10% of the tax or 10,000 whichever is higher, and 74 the amount of penalty is discussed in subsection 11. What it says, it says, I'm coming to 73(11) and 74(11). What it says that if you are not paying tax in 30 days, then the penalty will be leviable 10,000 or 10%, which is higher in 73, and in 74 it is said that the penalty amount will be 15%. So 15% before show cause, 25% after show cause, but within 30 days, 50% after 30 days, right? So, friends, this is a presentation in tablet form that 73 no penalty when the before issuance of show cause notice, within 30 days no penalty, thereafter 10% of tax or 10,000 whichever is higher, 74 15%, 25%, 50%, after 30 days it will be 100%, right? So the client should be aware that levy of penalty is a matter of concern when they face show cause notices. Okay. So this will be the show cause notice timeline. So the law has defined the timeline for passing of the order, and the provision says 3 months and 6 months respectively, 73, 74 before the order get passed. So for 1718, right, the new date of passing of the order is 31st December. So the show cause notice can be issued by till 30 September 2023. Friends, let's be very mindful that after 30 September 2023, for 1718, we will continue to have notices under 74, as we are having notices of service tax versus income tax versus 26 years. Even the limit has been crossed, the extended time limit has been invoked. So we might be mindful that 74 will be invoked for us in 1718 also. But again, one should also be mindful at what level, at what time in the proceeding, all the anomalies need to be challenged, right? Again, I'm going out of the box to share something. In 67 subsection 1 and 2, my client had a visit from department officers. They came with the INS 01 only signed by the senior joint commissioner, and there were no tick in the checklist. If you see INS 01, this OR or 67 provisions, 72 provisions, there was no checklist. I educated my client over phone that it's perfectly fine, you keep shut. He got in a friend zone with the officer by evening. At late night when he was going out, sir, I was like to educate you something, you will not take this. Tomorrow morning he visited with a modified INS 01 and continued the search. This is, we should know where to show our cards and what to object better. Okay. So, friends, I will close the discussion here, and I would like to have some queries if you have. Yes, Abhishek.
मैंने 3B फाइल किया था from the 3 months बाद किया था.
Okay.
जो टैक्स का मैंने पे किया and along with the interest पे हुआ 2 DRT 03.
Okay.
अभी मेरे पास नोटिस आया है 73 का आया है. They are asking for the penalty.
Okay.
मैंने टैक्स पे कर दिया है, इंटरेस्ट भी पे कर दिया before the issue this locus notice.
Yes.
And locus notice जो अभी issue हुआ correct हुआ है, उसमें maybe 1 year or 1.5 year के बाद हुआ. तो मेरा भी है यहाँ पे मेरे को कोई पेनल्टी नहीं देना पड़े.
Limited information given by you, my answer was same, no penalty to be levied. I will share my experience in this. A client was of a view that they have paid the taxes in our outward liability. And when I got through the chauffeur notice, it was written reversal of credit. That they have taken excess ITC, they were supposed to reverse it. Notice was issued under 73, but they have paid it in outward liability. So the client was under the impression that they have paid it off. But again, when you go down, deep down like a matter, it would be
entire tax was being paid to caress. मेरा outward liability.
in your example, it is no penalty.
No penalty.
लेकिन रिसेंटली वो 73(9) में कोई पेनल्टी का बात करता ना, वो अगर जीएसटी से अगर लेट पेमेंट करते हैं तो कितना 10% का जो पेनल्टी लगता है वो टैक्स का वो पेनल्टी हो सकता है वो
73(9) says the proper officer shall after considering the representation, if any made by person chargeable with tax, determine the amount of tax interest penalty equivalent to 10% of their gross fixed higher. Okay, in that perspective, what Abhishek is trying to make a point, that 73 is step in, automatic penalty will step in.
उसका कोई सुपर से कोई मतलब नहीं, ऑटोमेटिक
Since you have accepted the tax is different, वो 73 can always
वहां पे वो पेनल्टी
मैंने टैक्स लोगों को दिया.
respected. आप शो को दुनिया में नहीं सकते.
तो मेरे पास फंड जब फंड आया तो मैंने लगेगा.
Yes, yeah.
When I have amount the ITC, then I have registered my liability under responsibility of file. Like the interest is not applicable now.
Sir, if you read section 48, it says that a balance, a credit ledger or balance in a cash ledger is still with you only. It is not getting passed to exchequer, so interest will be, the middle of interest will continue. Your feeling is correct that पैसे तो आपके पास ही दे. But again,
credit parts क्या है? Credit ledger तो मेरा पास नहीं है.
again, setting off is important. Setting off is important.
Setting at the time of my liabilities 70K. And that time I have a value of why I am getting the DRC 03. So why the prosecution that when I interest me
Yes, sir. So valid point, in fact, the recent amendment which came that even if you are disclosing the transaction for the month of April and December, and you are paying it for credit ledger, then also you are liable to pay the interest on the 100 rupee and not on the set off after setting off. Right? This is also to be kept in mind for the interest tax.
इसमें जो पहले वाला का वो 10 लाइन निकाली जरा सा.
Yes, sir.
लेकिन इसमें ये जो नोटिस इशू करने का जो 17-18 का जो डेट है ना 73 वाला, इसको 31 दिसंबर तक की ये डेट एक्सटेंड है.
नोटिस इशू करने का.
हाँ, ये आपका जो अभी 31 इसमें आया 1 अप्रैल को जो नोटिफिकेशन आया
उसी का है.
The date is 31st December as I mentioned, but that is by for the order. That is for the order.
Order.
And what I'm going to make a point is the show cause notice. That is 3 months prior to the order.
Okay.
So Pradeep is a learned person in Kolkata, so I would like to, inform all the members who are present.
Question is, this may recover top officer 1799.
Yes,
Top officer shall after considering representation.
yes.
You can make a representation for hearing to very
So again, when you sit in the leave now, what provision they invoke that matters. Again, show cause is very important. In 73, what section they are invoking? The point is I am making the cause of action. वो क्या indicate कर रहे हैं, कैसे indicate कर रहे हैं, is very very important. If they are not putting 73.9, you should not educate them. Take the advance order, go to first appeal, keep shut. Well, you should know where wisdom is to know and not to speak. Right? So that's it. I'll keep it small because
You should have continued for more.
No, sir, I prepared it. I was so never wanted
Negative presentation, so I would have loved to hear you more. So that is why actually I came early. I came running from the court, even it was raining even then.
Thank you so much, sir. Definitely, I will prepare next time.
Laptop है यहाँ पे.
Entrance तो है,
पूरा सेटअप
Actually Zoom चल रहा है सही साथ.
If we do the setup, if there are any questions from the virtual audience also, like maybe we can take because Abhishek is still at 4 minutes left.
they are,
Yes.
I think questions in the chat box.
Yeah,
I have looked at it.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. I'll read the question. Can notice under section 74 be issued without quantifying the amount of tax to be paid? And what if SCN has quantified the tax amount but not the interest?
Gagan भी question कर रहे हैं.
Gaganji, thank you for the question.
Gagan bhai, I would love to discuss this with you in person, but again,
It's my honor. It's my honor, Abhishek. It's my honor, Vinay sir.
can notice number 74 be issued without quantifying the amount only, and there is no notice has to be very specific in all terms. Right? As I mentioned, allegation, evidence, information, cause of action, all 4 are very important pillars. And the other question is, should we take out? What was his question?
What if SCN has quantified the tax amount but not the interest? Only mention interest as applicable.
So again, section 75 says, I guess it's always say that there is auto flow of interest. In fact, there is auto 75. It is auto flow of interest. But again, to my reading of section 63, if you see the word in the section 63 is only and only tax, no interest, no penalty. It is a best judgment assessment, and if you take a learning from 63, to me again, interest and penalty cannot be levied under 63 proceedings. So for 73, 74, yes, if they write interest as applicable, interest can be demanded even if they are not quantified. But in 63 proceeding, to my understanding, they cannot demand interest from you. In fact, 73, 74 cannot be used as a mechanism to demand only interest and penalty. If there is tax, no tax, interest, penalty, both can be demanded. Only interest and penalty cannot be demanded in 73 and 74 if tax is duly already paid. That's my game.
This case, उसमें case होगा tax payment हो गया तो
हाँ, सिर्फ 73 सिर्फ 73 हूँ, but again, और department can always invoke. Department can always invoke. So my first answer was for him that he cannot do.
कोई issue with date में
we have a draft.
जो हम लोग face कर रहे हैं कि GST था but place supply wrong किया
Again,
but law में तो restriction है नहीं कि US developer को ITC नहीं मिलता like we are receiving showcase notices for that
so we are
cause of action तो नहीं है
indeed, exactly. But that was my answer that this since there is no cause of action in the law that cannot be demanded to my
just
understanding.
been cost the notice on that.
But again, yes, but again, so you have to be mindful where it will be cost, not below the pricing restrictions or at the high court. Right, sir. Is that question I have?
My
My client owner of hardware business and also owner of 3 truck. GST is paying hardware business but not on truck iron charges. Is he also liable to pay GST on truck iron? That's not the question.
Whether higher pay, बिना pay या GT पे है, but that will be based on facts.
Yeah. Since the question not clear, I will not do it.
Can unmute it.
If the person can unmute and describe the question.
Advocate Krishna Upadhyay.
Krishnaji can speak.
We take this.
Okay, we'll take
This afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Anand. I think coming from Vinay that he has had a wonderful deliberation, that is itself a wonderful appreciation. But apart from that, the entire house is also unanimously saying that it's a wonderful presentation. So thanks, Abhishek. So now I will request Advocate Vinay Shraff to come on the dais, please. And so please you can mention. Change कर दीजिए Next. So it is really a pleasure that Vinay has agreed to and considered to come and deliberate on a topic which is very close to his heart and it is very close to all the heart of the people practicing litigation of the GST. So before we start the proceedings, I will request Advocate Mondal to come and speak. Advocate Vinay Shraff. Thank you. So, luckily for introducing Vinay, I will not have to look at the papers. Because
He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah. So we are long time friends, so I know him. So just to share, but for the August gathering, there is Vinay ji is a chartered accountant, a company secretary, a CMA, and also graduate in law. And apart from that, he's also completed his CIMA from as a diploma in management accounting from CIMA London. And as we all know, it's like when I was during the initial days of practice, we used to take judgments from the system. Searching on Google this judgment, that judgment, and we used to see the principles of law, understand from them, and even apply them. So today we have amongst us a speaker who is helping in writing of the judgments. How do I say so? Because he fought not only on 16.2c, 16.4, 36.4, 129. Name any section or anything he's handled on all the provisions maybe in the last few years. Today, usually depending on LGW industries, when you're writing on submissions, right? We write, LGW industries, this and that. I'll be happy to share that he is one of the advocates who's argued on the particular matter. Apart from that, VKC Footsteps, that is also another landmark judgment where he has been an integral part. But my initial start about reading Vinay's judgment was in Siddhartha, right? Which was long-term back, about input tax credit you heard. So that is the time. Surat Mercantile was 16.4, 16.2c. And also I think recently finished I was reading on garnishee order, the kind of, so we have just filed, we have got an order and suddenly government goes on, the department goes on and starts recovery. So how that is handled. So without wasting any more time, I just wanted to share all this because it's really a pleasure that such busy people like Vinay, they are rendering time for us so that we can enhance our knowledge and apply them in the fields of law. So we can have one round of applause for that. I think I would like to Vinay for his deliberation.
Thank you very much. Oruk, he likes to call himself Oruk plus Aru. So that Rosagulla he has to meet. That's why I think he was telling me that he has increased his weight for participation in marathon, I think 20 kilometers. But I think you should keep your weight down. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and there is nothing like that I'm so busy or anything of that sort. Anytime if I'm invited, I'm always very happy to come and enjoy the time. And also, all of you are very, very learned, and I look forward to learning from all of you. Like Abhishek was making his celebration, so I was very keen to hear him also. Because I learn from all of you and chartered accounts. I am a former chartered accountant, so I know that we have been we have taken a lead as far as the GST is concerned. I think the ICI has taken the lead in the implementation of law, as well as if you go to the ITTC. I don't know if some of you have not seen, but ITT, that website is there, and so much of material is there. It is so rich in content, and all the time so many handbooks they are publishing. So I really look forward to come to any platform where I'm invited. So one thing I mean before I start about handling so-called notice, and Abhishek has dealt with a number of issues which I thought I will point out, and he has cleared those issues in very lucid manner. One thing which I find it difficult in the GST era is that we deal with so-called notice only if it is issued to us. But the difficulty in the GST era, which I am encountering most of the time, is that the department is not issuing GST, notice in the first place. Because in most of the cases, they are making recovery, even if it is partial recovery. Suppose their allegation is that you have evaded, say, tax of say 5 crores. But through something future operation, someone or by any coercive action, if they manage to recover, suppose 50% of that also, they are happy with that, they will sit with that, and they will not issue so-called notice. You keep asking them, you keep writing them, they will not issue so-called notice. One such matter recently, just 2 days back, I represented before the Honorable Division Bench of this Honorable High Court only. Where since 2018, they have been collecting tax that this supplier is non-existent, this is non-existent, then they are exerting pressure that will arrest you. And they will put up any absurd figure that this is you are liable to pay. And then obviously if any business entity they are threatened, then nobody wants to go that route, and they end up paying the tax. So this is so still it is acceptable, or one may say that their allegation is very serious. But one matter where still the writ petition is pending since last year before this Honorable High Court only, and a lot of people end up paying taxes and still nothing. I mean, that was the issue relating to the dispute of the rate of tax, where many of these flour mill owners, they were converting wheat into flour on behalf of the state government. And the state government had a view that this is this attracts nil rate of duty. But despite that, the DGGI Delhi issued someone, not DGGI Calcutta, DGGI government, so that they can exert more pressure. They called people up to Delhi, and many of them end up paying some 6 crore, 10 crore, 18 crore, and many of them have served their business also because of this pressure and payment of tax without any following the due process of law. So this is a state of affair today which we are facing, and I believe that you have any such cases where they have not issued so-called notice, recovered tax, then irrespective of the fact whether DRC 03 has been
used by you for the payment of tax, where you have opted to say that it is voluntary. But if you oppose the tax, I am sure that you will get some relief or other. You will be better off than where you are. Because the courts consistently, Bombay High Court, Delhi High Court, and other high courts have taken a view that it does not matter that you have ticked that voluntary option in the DRC 03. Because the circumstance will decide whether it was voluntary or whether it is under pressure. Because, and in fact, Gujarat High Court made very scathing remarks that in the search and seizure proceeding at say 10 p.m., you are asking them if somebody has uploaded the DRC 03, and for you to say that it is voluntary, it cannot be accepted. So I think considering the facts and circumstances of the case, I think accordingly you must proceed. So regarding the so-called notice, I think Abhishek was pointing out that it is very important about what to speak and what not to speak, because many a times and at what stage what to do. So this is very important, this entire management of your case, as to at what stage what you do and what you don't do. So this is very, very important to plan it out. So first of all, to plan the reply to the so-called notice, it is essential that you gather facts relating to your case. And this so-called notice may emanate either from a summon proceeding, it may emanate from a search proceeding, it may emanate from an audit proceeding. So before you have a look at your so-called notice, ask your client to provide all the documents starting from the stage when the investigation is started. Now the investigation may be in form of audit, summon, or search and seizure. And it might so happen that they have taken a statement of your client in the course of search and seizure proceeding. So if that be the case, even if suppose they are not able to get a copy of the statement, because even if you write and seek a copy of the statement, invariably they will not provide a copy to you. So without even knowing, if the client tells you that they have managed to have some statement against them and accepting the liability or something of that sort, then the first thing which you need to do is to retract the statement by way of an affidavit. And this affidavit, it has to be filed before that officer only. Even if you do the notary or whether you do the affidavit before a magistrate, but ultimately that retraction statement, it has to be before the concerned authority. And if your client is in such a place where suppose for some reason you are not able to have a stamp paper, it is good enough that even you write it in a letter form or through email, but you must retract the statement at the earliest possible opportunity. That is the first thing. Secondly, as soon as you receive the so-called notice, you see what are the documents, because they seize the documents and they prepare the so-called notice on the basis of seized documents. And many a times the client either don't write to the department to provide the copy of those documents which have been sealed, or it might so happen that the documents which have been relied upon are not the documents of the SSC. Suppose they have relied upon the statement of a third party or some external documents, then you are entitled to seek relied upon documents. There are Supreme Court judgments on this issue, that so-called notice issued without relied upon documents is a non-issue, and it is liable to be set aside on that ground alone. And if the authority proceeds without providing you a copy of all the relied upon documents, including any statement of a third party, then if you have sought for a copy of the relied upon document at the first instance, then that can be, because many times you see on merit you may not have a very good case, but if you build up all these tactical issues which they don't respond to properly in accordance with the law, then that become a ground subsequently at the higher forum to set aside the so-called notice. So These are the very, very important things which you must keep in mind, that if it is your own statement, if in the course of some months, such which you see what matters which are coming in the GST in last 3-4 years, 70-80% of the time I see that some statement has been taken. And even if suppose 1 or 2 years has passed, still that retraction must be done. So it is on the record that it was under course. And there is a judgment which I will subsequently come to. There is a judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court. We know so likely it was in the context of FEMA, or sorry, FERA. But that is a very important judgment which says that the circumstance will decide whether the statement was voluntary or non-voluntary. Just like now the forceful recovery. Now if DRC 03 I have filed and it takes voluntary, then can I go back and now today say that it was not voluntary? Now you have to build up the circumstance under which it was paid, and that circumstance the court will always take into to decide whether it was voluntary or involuntary. Similarly with respect to statements also. So if you have retracted the statement only, then you can build up that case saying that it was not voluntary. So that is very important, and then relied upon documents. Then thirdly, if suppose a third party statement is relied upon. So if that third party statement is relied upon, then the first thing which you should do is to seek cross examination. Because I will, it is there in my slides, that if there is the cross examination is not given to you and the matter is adjudicated against you, then there are a number of judgments that irrespective of the merit of the matter, that order or appellate order or whatever order may be, that is liable to be satisfied. So if you have requested for cross examination, then at a subsequent stage it is a very good ground to get the entire proceeding satisfied. So these are, I mean, some technical safeguards which we must avail at the first instance. Because if the order is passed against you, or at subsequent stage if you take up all these points, then the court might say that you never requested for say relied upon document, you never retracted your statement, you never asked for cross examination. So it is perfectly all right that you never wanted it. So these are the things. Then yes, one thing which Abhishek was pointing out with respect to the limitation under 73 and 74. So 73, some limitations will expire within this year, 74 subsequently 2 years. But these are very, very important to keep evidence for all time to come of the date of receipt, particularly when it has been received by you through the postal mode. As of now, many times we see that it is now it has become a regular practice to receive the notice through email or over portal. Over portal also, one thing, recently there has been judgment of the Honorable Calcutta High Court that in portal also there are different tabs, and a notice is supposed to be issued in that tab for notice. Now in one case it was issued, and in many of the cases it has happened. Recently one matter we have filed before Bombay High Court also, where it has been issued under additional notice. Now you can take a plea because you see the order has been passed, uploaded, the 3 months time limit, 1 month additional time limit has gone. Now what do? You could not do anything after the period of limitation is over. So if that is the case, then the only thing which will help you is the date of receipt. And if you have to file the appeal, suppose it is because still, I mean, these state tax department people particularly, they are not so many of the officers are not so tax savvy. So they are not even uploading the notice or the order on the portal. They are still using that old routes of sending manually. So you must keep that envelope with the printout of the ट्रैक का जो वो रहता है ना, वो ये लोग स्पीड पोस्ट से जो भेजते हैं उसका रखना बहुत जरूरी, क्योंकि वो प्रिंट आउट भी आई थिंक इट I mean after 2 years if you want it will not be available, so immediately that print out also, because that will I mean, be a proof that, and also from that, you can establish to whom it was delivered. Whether it was to your person or to anybody, but deke chale gaye. So that is also, there are judgment which says it is not a receipt of the notice in the first place, if it is not given to a proper person. So that is also very important. So these are the first things. So as far as the time of limitation is concerned, 73 and 74. So if it is a matter under 73, then there are some certain things which you must keep in mind, that suppose they are making allegation of suppose willful misstatement. But if you can show from the records that they were very much aware of your activities or whatever allegations they are making, then obviously it is a very good case to establish that there is no willful misstatement. In any case, the burden is upon them to establish that it was willful misstatement. Merely because you have not included certain transaction in your return. There are a number of judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court which says that merely because you have failed to incorporate some transaction in your return, it does not mean that there is a willful misstatement. For example, something is not included in your return, but it is there in your balance sheet and everything, and it is a public document, and you are a private limited company, then you can take a plea that you are always very well aware of my activities. Now, many so-called notices are being issued, particularly in the service tax regime, not as of now in the GST era, but that will also happen 5 years down the line, and this 5-year time period is going to expire. Because always they do this activity in the last month. Even in the this for 73 notices, you may see that around this period of June, when the last this due date is coming, they will issue notices on the basis of 26 years. The 26 years you have shown this turnover, your GST turnover is nil. Even if they have issued notices to advocates on that basis, to lawyers or to say doctors, and the entities which has got nothing to do with the GST, even say NGOs and so. These are the things. So there you can always take a plea that since you yourself are issuing notice on the basis of 36 years, which is a document available with you only. So you cannot say that there is a willful misstatement from my side to evade. There is an error on my part, error of judgment, that I chose not to pay tax, but there is no willful misstatement. So these are very important things. Then second thing which you must check is whether the officer which has issued a so-called notice has a proper jurisdiction over you. It cannot be that any officer all over from any part of the country can issue a so-called notice unless and until that officer happens to be an officer of the DGGI. So DGGI has that power. DGGI officer has that power to issue notice to anybody, but not otherwise. So it cannot be that any officer will issue so-called notice to you, and if that is done, then you have to challenge his jurisdiction in the first place to issue you a so-called notice. Even if suppose you don't wish to challenge it in form of that jurisdiction ground to the High Court, but still you must take the ground of the jurisdiction in the reply to the notice. So that should be the first thing you should do, that you do not have the jurisdiction to issue a so-called notice to me. And in fact, the issue of limitation is also a point of jurisdiction only. So if, because recently you see one matter I got admitted in Tripura High Court and one in Calcutta High Court also. In fact, Calcutta High Court, the single bench dismissed my matter, saying that I will not look into that, but the division bench restored it because the notice was issued on the basis of 26 years and it was beyond the period of 5 years of limitation and the Finance Act. So if that is the case, there is no point in pursuing the remedy before that authority who do not have any jurisdiction over you at all. I mean, you can always directly approach the High Court and get it quashed. Because ultimately, if you file the reply and you accept his jurisdiction, then if you go in with the appeal, then you have to pay 10% of the disputed amount, and if the tribunal, which unfortunately has not yet come, but if it comes, then 20% further. So total 30% of a disputed amount you are not at all liable to pay. I mean, I think it can always you can always go and approach the High Court. So Then, yes, I already said that you have to ask the client to provide you the complete sort of correspondence, starting from the initial stage till date and whatever reply they have submitted. Because it cannot be that you take contradictory instance at various stages. If you have if your client has already supposed the matter comes to you at the so-called stage, and they engage some other professional at the prior stage, say at the someone stage, or they themselves have handled that matter. It might so happen that they have their own team who has submitted some reply or other at the stage of the audit observation or during the summon proceeding, because through summons also they call for record and sometimes they call for detailed explanation also. So if any document is there, then you must seek that. Also, it is important to know that if you wish to rely upon any documentary evidence, and that documentary evidence may also be in form of a expert opinion or expert certificate. For example, in the matter of classification dispute, whether a particular item is this or that, and there is a margin of matter of opinion. For example, recently I am doing a matter, it was listed today also. The dispute in that matter is whether I am manufacturing a bag, whether it is a bag of plastic or whether it is a bag of textile. If it is textile, the rate of tax is 5%. If it is plastic, then 18%. So it's a matter of life and death for that company. One matter in the so-called stage itself we successfully got quashed. There also the dispute was 5% and 18%, but we had to go to take that route to the High Court and get the notice quashed in the first place, because one of the principle of the so-called notice is that it should not give you an impression that the authority has already made up its mind. If on the first glance, if the impression which you get from the language it appears that from the elaborate discussions which sometimes they make in the so-called notice, and if the impression is that they have already made up its mind and it is nothing but an order, then it is liable to be set aside. So we successfully got it set aside from the Honorable Division Bench of Calcutta High Court, and then subsequently the matter was pursued before the authority, and then obviously once the matter comes back from the High Court, then they are under some pressure that they have to act judicially, that the arbitrariness which is there and the strength which they show, that all goes away. So when the matter again came back to them, then another senior officer was involved to adjudicate the entire matter apart from the officer who had issued the so-called notice. And there the issue was whether it is a fly ash brick or whether it is a normal brick. So again, we had to, you see, in these matters, you see, it is always such a thin margin of matter of opinion that if you have any certificate, which is a certificate of a technical expert in the field, then it always helps. So even when I approached the High Court, we took a certificate of a chartered engineer on the basis of the study of the manufacturing process, on the basis of the study of the entire plant and facility, because it should not, also the certificate should not be that you prepare the certificate and you find any chartered engineer and who signs the certificate. You should study thoroughly the process, and then only you should come to a conclusion that whether this item is this or that. So if that certificate is there, that always helps. And in our case, we got a certificate from Jadavpur University, some professor. He also examined our product and gave his opinion whether what is this item, whether it can be called a fly ash brick or not. So these are very, very important things which we must avail at the first instance. And the matter which is pending right now before the High Court, it has arose out of this authority for advance ruling order. Authority for advance ruling decided in our favor. Appellate authority decided against us. Now we are in the High Court. But the safety which I feel safe. Why? Because we had a number of certificates from various organizations, Indian Institute of Packaging, all government organizations. Indian Institute of Packaging, then this Indian Oil Corporation, then Central, I think CPET, or there is some organization, 3-4 organizations gave certificates that this is a bag of textile. And moreover, that there is a Bureau of Indian Standard, this also with respect to that product, which says that whether this particular bag, which this part, SSC is manufacturing, whether it is a bag of plastic or textile. Because you see the difficulty is, and now the single bench is decided against me on the basis, chapter 63 uses the word bag manufactured from the strip of polypropylene. I am manufacturing bag from the strip of polypropylene. There is no dispute about that. And that chapter heading also says that. Now the difficulty is that the moment it is polypropylene, then the question comes in the mind of the judge or the appellate authority which decided against me, that how can it be? It is polypropylene, it is plastic only. So if it is plastic, it cannot be textile. So that is the, you see, common sense understanding. But you see, there are detailed chapter notes. Because in the matter of classification, this chapter note and section notes, they all play a very important role. Chapter note of plastic says that if it is an item of textile, then it will not fall within this chapter. Now, how and why should a chapter relating to plastic say that if it is an item of textile, then it will not fall under this chapter? Now, there are section notes in this textile relating to textile, because chapter this textile chapter starts from 52 or 52 to 64 or 51 to 64. There are about 10 to 12 chapters under textile, and there is section 11 or something like that. So that section note says that if the plastic strip from plastic, it is less than 5 mm. If it is less than 5 mm, then it is textile. So the question is whether it is more than 5 mm or less than 5 mm. And on that basis, the authority for advancement decided in my favor. And there are a number of certificates which are procured to say what? To only say what is the length of my money, that width of my strip, whether it is more than 5 mm or less than 5 mm. If I am less than 5 mm, then I mean no problem at all. Another thing is that with respect to textile, I tried to do a research as to what is the meaning of textile. And I found out the Supreme Court judgment which says that, sorry, are you getting bored because I
No. This is the context.
So, textile says that textile has come from a Latin word texture, and it means to weave. And weaving can be from any material, anything which can be woven, and it can be converted into a textile form. And I also have taken some newspaper reports where our Prime Minister Modi was giving a jacket which is made from recycled plastic bottles. So, I mean, this is your incredulous belief that it cannot be this. So you have to always keep in mind that in the matter of classification or in the matter of taxation laws, the government can always have a deeming fixer. It can always deem this or that and that as this. Like for example, there is a chapter relating to vegetable products, where it says that if any fiber is manufactured from the vegetable and if it is converted into textile, then it will fall in textile. Similarly, there is a chapter relating to items made from rubber, and it says that if it is, even if it is a textile, but if it is a lining of the rubber, even if it is very thin lining, the moment it is lining of rubber, it will be an item of rubber. So like that, there can be any deeming provision in the chapter and section notes with relating to classification disputes, and I am telling you, a lot of litigation is going to arise in the time to come on classification. And classification can absolutely kill any company. Like this company also, where we fortunately managed to get the so-called notice twice, had it been decided against that company, I had already told that officer that you take over the company and sale of everything and recover whatever. That also you will not be able to recover some 5-10%. You will manage to recover nothing more than that. Because in the matter of indirect taxation, ultimately it has to be recovered from the customer. And in fact, on this context, very interestingly, one of my very senior advocate, and which also happens to be a chartered accountant, very well renowned, one of the biggest law firm as far as the indirect tax in Bombay. So he was telling me, one Mr. Vipin Jain, you people might have heard his name, very famous in indirect taxation. So he told me that in fact we should challenge these provisions which have time and again extended the period of limitation. Because if you increase it indefinitely, then the whole purpose and the meaning of this indirect taxation is lost, where you are supposed to recover it from the customer. 5 years, 6 years down the line, when you come and tell me the rate of tax you have applied is 18% or 5%. Now, why am I going to pay this 13%? No company, even Reliance. I think even if it is on Reliance, the Reliance also will shut down. They will not be able to pay such a huge differential tax. So, in the matter of classification, one thing also I wanted to point out that if you avail any rate of tax which is less and there is any possible doubt that it can fall in other category, then it is always better, because in this matter which we are dealing before the High Court, which is pending right now, even before the introduction of GST, we wrote a letter that we intend to avail this chapter heading, and we had a communication. So now today, ultimately we went to double AR, but suppose it was a show cause notice issued now, so it would have been time barred, because I have intimated. And in the matter of classification, if you are availing lesser rate of tax compared to any other rate of taxation, and there is a possibility that it might classify, even if you don't know, better to write a letter to the department to be able to avail this benefit, that there was no willful misstatement or your intent to fraud. So to avoid those kind of situations.
So similar matter we are now facing with the rubber valves. So the air strings. So saying that the president yesterday also came, auto parts, spare parts is 28%. But all the vendors are claiming that, let's say, a spare part only made of rubber.
Yes.
They want them to tax the rate of 18%.
Yes.
But being an auto spare parts chapter, it is tax rate of 28%.
Yes.
So again, there is a mismatch. And so the department issued 1,000 crores of notice to all the vendors demanding 28%. Again, very similar to the matter.
So in the matter of classification, one also important point is that there is a judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in Dilip Kumar and Company, Commissioner of Customs versus Dilip Kumar Company, where it has been discussed that in the matter of chargeability and exemption, there should be strict interpretation. That is point number one. Then this rate of tax, valuation, these are all issues of chargeability. So there should be strict interpretation. But in the matter of chargeability, the benefit of doubt will go to the assessee. And there are a number of judgments. This is a constitutional bench judgment, but there are a number of judgments directly on the point that in the matter of classification, there is a judgment of one Maruti East company. There are a number of other judgments also. So that in the matter of classification, the benefit of doubt, if at all, will go to the assessee. And if there is a specific heading and general heading, then specific will prevail over the general heading. Because if the matter, because sometimes what happens is that if by any reasonable means of classification, you can classify it under a head which is specific in nature and compare it to any heading which is residual in character or general in character, then the specific will prevail. And it is a general principle of law. Anywhere in any law, not in the matter of classification, anywhere, this is the principle of law, a very elementary principle of law. So that is one thing. The another thing is that sometimes you see client pressurize that you see they have given 7 days, 5 days, 3 days, or even a month, and it is practically impossible to file a reply. Then the clients are answers, and sometimes the professionals are also answered. Then what do we do? What happens? Still, let me tell you that there is no time limit in the law as far as the furnishing of replies is concerned. It is all arbitrary. It is between you and the department. So furnishing of the reply, you can always seek time. And if the officer does want to decide against you, let him decide. Let him decide. Because you see, ultimately, whether it is against the principle of natural justice. And 100% sure, let me assure you that you are going to get the issue decided in your favor at a later stage, even without going into the merits of the matter. So always be comfortable and seek a reasonable time within which you will be able to furnish reply. Don't be anxious and over anxious to reply. Don't get the pressure of the client. Educate them that don't worry, I will take care. Even if it is decided against you, don't worry about it. So the client has to go by our advice rather than we being pressurized by them and then going in the wrong direction, whereby you see we are not furnishing the adequate documentary evidence to substantiate what we want to say. We don't take all the legal proposition of law, because sometimes you see I face, mostly I do high court. Sometimes I see that the reply or the matter in which it is handled at the earliest stage, it creates a lot of difficulty, because if you have not taken any point, not furnished document, then how do you say that no opportunity or natural justice and this thing and that thing? So you should take all the possible legal grounds also, all possible, and every document in fact. And on factual aspect too, you cannot afford to miss anything. Point of law, always we can discuss at any stage if we miss out. But if we, even at the first instant, if we take all the legal proposition, even if suppose something comes in your head and you find that it is not supported by any judgment, or you are not able to immediately do research and find out any judgment in your favor, but take that legal provision, it is not going to do any harm to you. Subsequently, you may not argue that point, or it may not be decided in your favor, but it does not matter. It will through common sense, because ultimately it is all about common sense. What I realized that law is all about common sense. Any law you pick up, you will say that 90% of the proposition of law which is decided by the High Court or Supreme Court, it is all which arises in our head. As soon as we receive any notice or any matter, whatever first comes to you, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, ultimately you will be able to find something or other to support your argument. So it is very important to trust your instinct, trust your judgment, trust your common sense, but always give some time to yourself. It is always better to wait for some time before you get down to the drafting. After analyzing and everything, I mean, it is not always good to just, think with the papers. I mean, beyond the documents also, you need to have a habit of thinking. I mean, maybe you are having a lunch, or then sometime.
Mine is there, yeah.
At my home, sometime my wife or my kids ask me that what happened, where are you?
This case.
But in the morning itself, as soon as I wake up, whether I'm doing my yoga or anything, I mean, that is very automatic. Even if in the middle of the night I wake up, it is automatic that something or other pops up in my mind, and it is better to you're in the litigation, then you have to be 24/7 professional. I mean, always be in the mode of thinking. We may not be doing work all the time. We were doing too much of work also, paperwork all the time, be in the office till 8, 9, and और उसमें बहुत लोगों को ये satisfaction आता है कि देखिए बहुत number of hours बहुत काम कर रहे हैं बहुत, but आप ज़्यादा hours आप ऑफिस में बिताने से भी आप उतना कम time, you are not giving as much time to yourself to be able to think beyond documents and papers. So that time is also very crucial for us, particularly in the tax field. Because here there are so many, you see, twist and turn, so many new jurisprudence every time, something or other. which keeps coming. We have to update ourselves not only with the law, changing law, so it changes so frequently, but also the judgments. So we always have to somehow or other be in a thinking mode. So that is very important. Okay, now I ask you one thing. That before you see this DRC 01 with effect from 15/10/2020. Prior to that, DRC 1A, the law used the language shall. Now it is may. So whether according to you it is still mandatory or recommendatory or optional?
Majority is that it's optional now, because May is come.
But my view is that it is still mandatory, because otherwise this whole provision becomes redundant. You have to look into why this provision exists in the first place. The main purpose is if you are aware of the master circular, the service tax regime, that there was not this DRC 01A, there was free so-called consultation. Number of judgments of almost every high court is there that if any so-called has been issued without PSCL consultation, it is liable to be set aside. Don't dispute about that, even though it was in form of a circular. Now here, that pre-so-called consultation, it has taken the form of DRC 1A. So the objective is the same. That, and also it is in tune with the objective, overall objective of the litigation system itself, because Supreme Court also is constantly in all matter of dispute. They are saying that you should opt for conciliation and arbitration. So it is akin to that also, where you are the officer, they are consulting with each other to decide that if possible, let us drop it. Furthermore, I would say why it is should be read as mandatory, considering section 73 and 74, whereby on the ascertainment of any tax by the tax officer, if you pay the tax, then you get the benefit of the reduced penalty. Now, suppose if this stage is omitted, then you are also prevented from opting for that benefit of the reduced penalty. So we can take that argument also, according to me, that if this step is omitted, then that benefit which is given in the law itself, 73, 74, that also goes away, and I will be saddled with a greater penalty. So why should we? And we have a judgment. As of now, only I know of this judgment of Honorable Allahabad High Court, whereby this particular amendment was also discussed, and Honorable Allahabad High Court came to conclusion that despite this amendment, it should be treated as a mandatory provision to issue DRC 01. DRC 01. This benefit of reduced penalty already Abhishek has discussed, so I will not discuss it in further. Yes, the another thing is that we go a step back and we see under what circumstances, instead of going straight away to file the reply, what are the circumstances when we can avail the writ remedy? Why I am saying so that if there is a possibility to get it quashed, even if suppose it is going to get remanded back, even then it is better to opt for a writ remedy so that you are on a better footing to deal with the department. Because my experience, however good or bad your case may be, once the matter is remanded back, then they are extremely cautious to deal with. And they always they will treat you with even if the case is suppose this case of this fake credit and all, even then you are on a better footing. So I think It is very important for any professional to know that what are the circumstances under which you can go straight away to the rate. So suppose if the so-called notice only, I mean, it is happening continuously, that many so-called notice, if you read them, they are not so-called notice at all. They are just a direction to pay you so and so amount for so and so violation of the law. Particularly if we see section 16(4) notices, they are all like that only. That you have filed your return beyond due date prescribed in 16(4), please reverse. Please reverse. There is no even so-called notice. Many of such, I mean, they are demanding through over email. Similarly, with respect to say cancellation of registration of the supplier, they are saying that supplier's registration cancelled with retrospective effect. Please reverse. In one such matter before Honorable Division Bench of Calcutta High Court, after LGW, I am saying, there is car chases. I think it is not so widely reported. I don't know why, but that judgment is better than LGW. Car chases करके है. So, उसमें same thing is there. Then in fact that judgment covers two issues. One is that an email was issued asking the client to reverse the ITC because the supplier's registration is cancelled. So the Honorable High Court said that you cannot do like that. If you issue such communication over email, it is not, number one, that is not permissible. Number two, you have not given any reason why you want this ITC to be reversed, because just for supplier's registration has been cancelled. And in fact, that particular case that recovered the tax amount also. So in fact, the Honorable High Court not only directed to recredit the tax amount, but also asked them to reverse the interest portion also. So that is very important. But with respect to this LGW, I think there is a judgment. Oh, Priya, कौन सा जो circuit bench का क्या है? उसका गार्डन में क्या नाम है?
Garo traders. Garo traders.
Garo traders. That is a better worded, better authored judgment, even though it relies upon LGW only. But Justice Krishna Rao, he was there at that point of time. He has authored it very well and very well worded judgment. So henceforth, I think people should say that judgment rather than LGW. And in fact, that car chases one also. That they are, seeking reversal on the ground of cancellation of registration with retrospective effect. And more than that, there is a judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, Suresh Trading Company, which in fact I rely upon for all such defense. So that Suresh Trading Company वाला भी जरूर आप लोगों को quote करना चाहिए. So if the so-called notice does not, if it is unintelligible, cryptic, you cannot make a head and tail out of it as to what is the allegation against you. You can go to the High Court to get it quashed. Then if it is without jurisdiction, now jurisdiction can be territorial jurisdiction. It can also be jurisdiction in form of the limitations. So if the limitation is expired, that is also a point of jurisdiction. And one more thing I want to point out, that the issue of jurisdiction, it can be raised at any stage. In fact, suppose if you omitted to, even though it is always better to point out the issue of the jurisdiction if you don't approach the High Court in the first instance, but suppose you omitted to mention the point of the jurisdiction, it can be taken at any stage, even at the Supreme Court stage, because there are Supreme Court judgments, because Honorable Supreme Court says that it is a inherent issue. I mean, it goes to the core of the matter. So it can always be taken. It's a point of law.
The point of has got a result from department for a period in which he was not registered. It is a 67 matter. So now it's they are in a registering center, but the rate came from state. So I have not challenged yet. I am honestly waiting for a show cause notice. I want to see whether they will issue a show cause in 63 or 73 or 74 rather, and then I'm trying to hold.
No, you are doing the right thing. I mean, let us wait for what the allegation. Why should you jump?
Right, sir.
I mean, that is also very important. And that is strategically as to what you do at what time, what you don't do. And as he rightly said, and I always say that you should always be mindful of when to say and when not to say also. Not saying is also very important. In courts also I have seen many a times, many of the advocates, they are very over eager to argue, they are very prepared, and you know which direction the judge is going. If he is already on your side, then you keep silent. Whether it is a elaborate judgment or whether it is a 2-line judgment, 5-line judgment, how does it matter? As long as your client gets the relief, you should be happy with that and run away. Sometimes the relief may also not be exactly what the client wants, but he is getting 60-70%, 80% of the relief. So, I mean, sometimes over argument, over statement, sometimes it leads to so much of complication. And in fact, I will tell you that Rule 89(5) judgment, why it went against us. I will not name the advocate, but I will tell you why. And it's very round advocate, not that he's any small time advocate. But the problem is the over eagerness. The only thing which would have been restricted to, because I was involved in that matter, I'm telling you, for first 2 days, it was argued for 4 days by the Honorable Justice Chandrachud, continuously. And he was with us all along. But the moment, as long as you see it was Rule 89(5) versus Section 54, it was in our favor. The moment the challenge to Section 54(3) Roman clause to came into question, and that started getting argued, and Article 14, I knew that it is dead. Because that was never required to be argued, and the matter took a very, U-turn from there, even though Justice Chandrachud did not say so. But because for the first 2 days, he was totally with us. He said that the matter is as clear as daylight, and it was, he said, told Mr. Venkatraman, he's a very learned, one of the most learned advocate of the country in the tax matter. And he gets a lot of leeway also from the court. Whatever. He will start from 1937. Central excise, this, that, and the judges also allows all the liberty to him to argue whatever. So the matter took a turn from there. So it is very important to know that this may land you in trouble. So sometimes not to speak, not to take any action, to take lesser action. Sometimes it is better not to give a detailed reply also. Sometimes you can change their direction also by very cleverly making any point. For example, DRC 1 stage is here. And recently, I did like that. So they have said that the supply is not existent. In DRC 1A reply, I made a short reply. But I said that I took the point relating to, because the supplier is cancelled actually. So I've taken that point that suppliers, because you are saying that the supplier is non-existent only because he did not give any reason why it's non-existent. So I elaborated upon that. That you are saying so only because his registration is cancelled with retrospective effect. Now, suppose if it forms part of the notice, then there are judgments to take care of this situation, because he has not told me as of now that why the supplier is non-existent, why he has come to such a conclusion. Because they don't do any investigation, they only rely upon that supplier's cancellation with retrospective effect. Okay, again, one important thing is when you need to challenge the virus of any act or rule, then also the only remedy in such scenario is to go to the High Court. For example, the allegation against you is that the supplier has not paid the tax. He has not filed GST or 3B return. There is no allegation that is non-existent and all that, because there are variety of cases with respect to this bucket. So one of the allegations is that GSTR 3B has not been paid. So if GSTR 3B not filed, tax not paid, then the only recourse available to you is to challenge section 16 to clause C. You are not going to any relief from the either the appellate authority or any authority even from the court. Even if you go travel through that appellate mechanism, unless you get the section 16 to C set aside. So you have to plan accordingly. One more issue with respect to the input tax credit, section 16 code. I challenge the retrospective amendment to rule 61. Even though section 16 code I am trying to argue in a different footing right now, not pressing too much of that retrospective amendment, but retrospective amendment we need to challenge in several measures where there is a demand of interest for 17, 18, 18, 19, or suppose somebody is omitted to claim ITC. Now we intend to claim ITC. He has discovered through some audit process or some other process that he has omitted to take some huge amount of ITC. Then what do? Then you have to somehow or other invite so-called notice upon you by claiming the credit for that period and then challenging the retrospective amendment to rule 61. Which if you recall, why I am saying this is that initially to see rule 61, what happened initially? Because this matter I argued before the Honorable High Court of Gujarat. This matter is very close to my heart at this particular issue. Aap and company wala. What happened in that matter is that all along, if you look at the act, whenever it is talking of the return, they are putting a deadline with respect to filing of the return. Then they use the phrase return to be filed under section 39. Now, section 39 does not prescribe any return. It says that as per rules, relevant rule is rule 61. Now, what does the rule 61 says? That initially, when it was drafted, it says that under rule 61(1), the return to be filed is GSTR 3. Sub-rule 5 was there, which said that GSTR 3B is return to be filed only if return filing date for GSTR 2 and 3 is extended. So if 2 and 3 extended, then 3B to be filed. So I argued only one point, that you are saying that I am not entitled to ITC beyond this section 16 code date. But you have not even notified GSTR 3. So as long as you don't notify GSTR 3, you cannot say that I have filed my return beyond this due date because I am still unable to file, and they were notifying continuously up to 2020. They kept notifying, but subsequently when this Appen judgment came, they knew that they are nowhere. I mean, they are going to be dead for the Supreme Court also, even though filed in SLP for Supreme Court. So they retrospectively amended the rule. But with respect to retrospective amendment, there is a catch. While the government has the power to retrospective amendment, but if it creates any obligation in form of interest or takes away any of your existing right, then that is liable to be set aside. There is a judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in Jayam and Company, wherein section 90 subsection 20 relating to taking of the input tax credit in the Tamil Nadu VAT Act was amended with retrospectively. So the Honorable Supreme Court said that there is nothing wrong with the prospective amendment, but as far as the retrospective amendment is concerned, since there was a crystallized right on the date when this particular section was there, so now you with retrospective of it, you cannot take away this right. Now with respect to this credits, why I am saying that rule that this retrospective amendment needs to be challenged. But suppose if there is a demand of interest, there is a demand of the, there is a issue of the late taking of the credit or not taking of the credit also, where you don't have a so-called notice, but you invite so-called notice upon yourself by taking if it is a substantial amount of. Because that question of materiality is always there for a chartered accountant, all issues. So you take the credit, invite so-called notice, and then because if the GSTR 3 prior to the retrospective amendment of Rule 61, if it was notified, then Rule 61, Sub-Rule 6 said that if any error or omission is there, you can rectify through GSTR 3. Even GSTR 3, if any error or omission is there, Rule 61(6) gave you that right to claim the credit. And now Rule 61(6) they have omitted. And there is one more catch here, that with respect to omission of Rule 61(6), if you have a look at the GST Council minutes, there is no minute which says that they have taken a decision to omit Rule 61(6). Rule 61(5), they have discussed elaborately that to counter the Safran Company judgment, we are retrospectively amending. But omission is no mention at all. So this omission is also, illegal. So I'm just giving you some real practical examples where this act and rules needs to be challenged. Okay, this point I have already discussed that if from the notice it appears that the authority has already made up his mind, then of course you can challenge. One more point is there. That suppose, which is not there in this slide, but there are two Supreme Court judgments on that issue. That if the issue is purely a point of law, question of law, and there are no factual disputes, then also you can avail writ remedy. For example, the issue relating to this section 64, where there is a delay in filing of the return. The question is purely legal. There is no dispute. I filed the return late. There is no question of denying that I cannot dispute that part. And there can be several other scenarios also where there is a pure question of interpretation of law. So if that be the case, there are two Supreme Court judgments which says that you can directly approach the High Court, and High Court should decide that issue. It does not even give that option to the High Court to reject or accept, because generally the writ jurisdiction is a discretionary jurisdiction. But the Honorable Supreme Court has said that there is no point in sending the SSC to the alternate remedy if that question of law is there. Process.
So what is the fate of 16-4? Are we going to this? What we heard that 8 courts are going to favor to
16? 16-4, though, actually the matter some or other. Actually, I argued it before the Honorable Bombay High Court at length. And then suddenly, when he fixed the matter for the full day hearing, he said that day we will fix it and we will decide this issue. And unfortunately, the roster got changed. And after that, I have not been able to push it any further. In Gujarat High Court also same thing happened. It was heard at length, and then Justice Patiwala got elevated to Supreme Court. But now, fortunately, we have the matter over here in Calcutta. Yeah, no, not Gujarat. The division. Before him also it is there, but since this before that division bench, so hopefully let us keep our fingers crossed. I am very hopeful of a favorable. Because one hearing has already taken place. Okay, so regarding the format, I think most of you must be aware of the format, and also one thing is very important that we must address all the points. And one thing which Abhishek was pointing out, that we must look at what is the allegation against me, which section they have applied, because it may apparently look be the same, but every officer has their own way of looking at things. And you cannot have a standard cut paste sort of a thing where you just you look at the issue and you believe that okay, it is the same thing, so you just paste and complete your reply. So one has to very carefully analyze as to what is the allegation, what are the factual dispute, and whatever factual disputes are there, you first deal with them. You first deal with the factual aspect, and whatever documents you wish to rely upon in support of your informative evidence. I will just show one reply also, just draft reply to this non-existent supplier only, is to how one should include the documents, and then in your ground you deal sequentially all the allegations against you. Each and every allegation, number one, should be dealt with. Secondly, I mean, reliance upon circular or any judgment, that should always be in support of your proposition of law which you are trying to contend. So that you always write in your own language. Suppose even if it is from a judgment, you have nothing new to say, you just want to rely upon that judgment. But it should never be that you just say that this is the judgment I am relying upon. And where is your proposition of law? I see this kind of mistake advocates making in the High Court also. They place the judgment. Is the judge supposed to read the whole judgment and understand what you are trying to say? You say that this is the judgment. After you make your proposition of law and also point out which paragraph you are relying upon. If possible, quote that paragraph also, or otherwise you just take out, because if the paragraph is too long, you may omit doing that. Just say the what is the proposition of law, you rely upon this judgment, this paragraph. Finish. And if there is a circular, then you rely upon that circular. So like that, I mean, you go rather than just jumping to the conclusion or final thing. So that is also, I think, very important. And yes, always address the point of limitation. They will always invoke extended period of limitation. I have not seen any notice which they issue under section 73. They will always issue notice under section 74. But if the normal period of limitation has expired, then have it in a separate heading that the extended period of limitation should not be invoked. So that should be a separate dealing altogether. And let me tell you that if there is a question of interpretation of law, then there are a number of Supreme Court judgments which says that on the point of the interpretation of law, extended period of limitation can never be invoked. It can never be said that you had a willful mistake. For example, there is a dispute about, say, for the time being, this matter of section 75 pending for the Supreme Court. Safari retreat. The safari retreat is better position because safari retreat, you see, that's a very poor judgment. So it's very frank that Odisha High Court judgment is not a judgment. Only, I mean, elaborately discussing the rival submissions, and there is a half-page judgment. That is a, but fortunately, we have filed some direct writ for the Honorable Supreme Court. I am doing two matters, in fact. So, I mean, there are a number of arguments which are not there in that judgment, so that is going to be there. But suppose you have taken a credit and it is a, it can be treated as an interpretation of law, you have taken a credit, the matter has traveled up to the Supreme Court, then obviously it is a question of interpretation of law. Is it not? Even if it is decided against you, you can always take that plea that it is a question of law. And Odisha High Court decided in my favor. So why should I not take the benefit? And you see, there are judgments of Supreme Court also that if only if it is a central law, and if any provision is passed by any High Court, then it is an application all over the country. Even if it is not your territorial High Court, still it has a all, I mean, across the country application. And yes, of course, the penalty, why the penalty should not be imposed, for the purpose of penalty imposition and the limitation period, the proposition of law is same, because the grounds are also same. you see the section is almost analogously worded. And always you can take alternative, please. An alternative, because you see, it may be possible that there are alternative grounds which are contradictory to each other. So you take your base point first, and then you say, without prejudice to the above submission, even if it is accepted that this is true, then this is my submission. Because it is very much permissible to take contradictory ground. So you should never think that just because it happens to be contradictory, because if I am not served by this, I may be served by this or that or by anything. So I am entitled to have a full defense of my side. And of course, the prayer should be there as to what you are seeking. Yes, all enclosures, you see, if you wish to rely on any documents or anything, and if it is not properly legible, then have a typed copy of it. Because if the matter may travel up to the different levels, and having a typed copy, if you, and you can always get it typed from any of the, this Xerox centers in the High Court area. So they are expert in that, and they do it at a reasonable cost. And if any documents need to be translated, because you see, if you are dealing with any notice from any other part of the country, Hindi belt particularly, or maybe Gujarat, then you might find any notice in the vernacular language.
MP is being only in MP also.
So always good to get it translated from a proper translator. And it is always good to have an indexation, pagination, and everything. Just like we do it in the High Court, that there is an index and what documents you are enclosing, and there is a clear-cut picture. So it helps you also at the time of hearing and the subsequent stages, because every document is very clearly typed, and it also helps you to have a control over the everything. I think this is all. I thought I had not planned everything, because I thought that maybe I will try to. When Aru told me that whether I will have a PPT or not, I said that let me try. Whether I don't know whether I will be able to prepare. Somehow or other I got some time today, so I prepared it. I told him that I will try to share more of my practical, things which I have come across. So that sharing that practical thing is more important than theoretical discussion is also important. I'm not saying that is not important. Yeah, because you see, he discussed so much of things, and I enlightened you also many aspects. Was just I conclude, yes. The question, yeah, actually is
Section 1A.
yes.
Mastermind penalty.
What's the is online or something?
Section 121A. Mastermind penalty 100% of the tax.
So can I have the any?
Yeah. The project of mastermind penalty, mastermind. So now in a very practical scenario, accounting, just name a person name. Name the person that he is the person who supplied.
122.
One capital.
Any person who retains the benefit of a transaction covered under clause 1 to 7 or at whose instance and transaction shall be liable to be a penalty. Yes.
So whole instance.
Who retains the benefit
So
and at whose instance. So both things have to be
a benefit to what extent? A brokerage commission which he earns. So a person who facilitated this.
I understand.
Then now what the law is saying the penalty to be 100% of the tax limit.
Yes, that is what it says.
So now, so we are getting a matter in which it is the department is trying to put one person in this place. He's not. He's a 23 years old guy. He's not aware of all these things. Because of a family dispute, this person is getting paid there. So what should be? It's a very initial stage. They are having a search, and the accountant is naming this person. He's a 23-year-old guy sitting in Bangalore and doing a job.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But now, sir, what should be the ground of the thought process of
So at what stage right now, my friend?
So the message is search happened, conducted, the accountant was given a summon, the summon in the statement, he put this boy's name, that this boy is related to the owner and he facilitates all these activities. So now,
Suppose an notice is issued to this boy in Bangalore,
yeah,
then the first thing he should do is to see cross-examination. Nobody, I mean, it cannot be that one person who is making
only
allegation.
allegation is,
So it is only allegation without any. In any case, the statement has no value. There are a number of judgments. I think you must be aware of that. Statement, mere statement without any corroborative statement has no value.
so now this person is in Bangalore. The proper officer of this SST can issue a summon, can issue a notice to him, no, if he is not.
It can be issued, but if he is not a registered person. And this person is a proper officer who is conducting, suppose with respect to the entity which is conducting investigation or whatever it is, wherever it is based. And if that officer has the jurisdiction over that transaction which is investigating, then it is fine. Then anybody can be called into question and can be issued notice on it.
So we have a question from our online participant. We will request you to unmute yourself and kindly ask the question. Advocate Krishanu Upadhyay, I think you had a question, sir. Huh? वो तो आज खुद अनम्यूट हो सकता है। अच्छा उनका तो वॉइस है ही नहीं।
Why is he there? Shanuji, can you hear us? No, you are.
No, you are muted, yeah. Okay, so maybe you can write the question to us and we can share with the speaker. Yeah.
So, sir, Abhishek ji also mentioned one thing that in DRT 1A, is a pre-consultation notice basically.
Yes.
So, there, as Abhishek ji said, that we have to just reply whether we are accepting the initiation of basically the proceeding or not, whether we reject that. With that also, we need to collaborate whether what our perspective is, and we give a detailed reply to that also, along with the exception or rejection of their initiation.
The GRC 01A.
Yeah.
You see, whether you give a detailed reply or whether you take a shortcut, it depends on what is the allegation, and depending on what can be the, I mean, you have to think of 5 steps ahead, and if it goes to here or tribunal and this or that, then what will happen? So you have to plan it out.
In any case, the proceeding will start and the further.
Generally, I would say, if you ask me, generally I would say that it is better to give a proper reply.
With the detailed reply. So my second question is.
Because you are trying to get it dropped.
Yeah.
So why should you not take any reliance upon any document?
Why I am asking, sir, because in the next stage also the reply would be the same. What is the detailed?
That might be the same, but you see, sometimes what happens is that suppose you give a detailed reply,
Yeah.
DRC 1A, and DRC 1, instead of being a notice, it takes the color of an order. Then you get it quashed from the High Court. Then, see, they have also a lot of headache. Once it comes, then they start wondering, then how I draft, what did I do wrong? It's a lot of trouble for them.
So my second question is with respect to GST audit, 65 departmental audit. So there the section starts with that the commissioner or any person authorized by the commissioner can issue, start the GST audit. But the audit notice.
But one thing I just came to my mind,
Yes.
that if suppose there is a notice, TRC 01A, on merit your case is very poor. Then don't give detailed discussion. Then give shortcut applying something or other, trying to make as many technical points as possible. ये limitation है, ये cross examination है, ये है, वो है. तो आपको उसी को लेके आगे merit में कुछ है नहीं, आपको पता है.
ठीक है.
तो आपको तो situation देखनी पड़ेगी ना क्या है.
Thank you.
No, Abhishek, you agree with me?
Sir, agree. Sir, strategy is the 75% thing,
हाँ.
25% execution.
Sir, my second question is with respect to GST audit, section 60.
I just, because we have just 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So I think we conclude the thing, then we can take this offline, this question.
Okay.
Because we complete the formality in the 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very
But
much.
your question will take it, he is also here, we are also here, don't. Because that's for the sake of the building rules we have here, always. So thank you Vinay for a wonderful deliberation. And I'm really happy to share that entire India with us, because we have Srinivas sir from Mumbai, we have Mallikarjunji from Hyderabad, we have member Benuji from Kerala, so we have BNBG from Delhi, so we have members across India attending this through, because it's a hybrid board. So thanks to Srinivas sir, Mallikarjun Gupta, everybody for attending this webinar. And also thanks to the physical participants who have, in spite of having a busy schedule, have given their time and come here to be a part of this deliberation. Now I request Advocate Priya Sarapal to come over and give a memento to our first speaker, Abhishek Agarwal. Now I request Honorable C. Honorable only to come and give a memento to Advocate Vinay Shraff. So thank you very much. So maybe we can have a round of applause for Dada, who is taking all the behind the scenes. They're getting the food on time, eat, seats, everything is planned beforehand. And the last thanks to our IT head. Without not having possible. So thank you everyone, and we look forward to meeting you all on 12th of July on Wednesday, when we are having discussions on penalty prosecutions by Advocate Rajiv Agarwal and CA Dr. Abhishek. And there is a small change on the 14th of July. We had a session with Jalil Hajari and Ajit Kanodiya. So instead of only on the 14th session, we will not have it on 14th, we will have it on 15th. But since 15th is Saturday and this venue is not available on the Saturday, so only that session will have completely online. Because the speakers, both of them are traveling a lot. We are not getting any date before next month. But we want to complete within 21st. So that's why the earliest date that we have got from both of them is 15. So that's why for that only day, we will be having it on the online mode completely. So thank you very much for understanding and looking forward to meeting you all. Thank you. ऑफिशियली कोई प्रोग्राम नहीं कर सकते। ओह अच्छा, बाद में बैठ सकते। ग्रुप में अनाउंस कर दीजिए।
Thank you so much, sir.
The PPT is distributed for your own member.
Sir, that's all right. Yeah.